Don't wish for life to be easier. Wish to become stronger. This simple idea carries within it the power to transform how we view every obstacle, every challenge, and every hardship. Too often, people spend their days hoping that life will somehow change on its own, that the winds will calm down, that the storms will vanish, and that the road will become smooth. They pray for fewer problems, lighter burdens, and less resistance. But the truth is, life will not bend to our wishes in that way. The storms will keep coming, the obstacles will always appear, and the challenges will never stop. Asking life to be easier is like asking the ocean to stop making waves. It cannot, and it will not. The real question is, what are you willing to become so that you can ride the waves instead of drowning in them? Strength is not given. It is built. It is forged in the fires of adversity, shaped by resistance, and tested in the valleys of struggle. Think about the strongest people you've ever admired. Their greatness did not come because life spared them difficulty. On the contrary, it was the difficulties that carved their character, the tests that revealed their endurance, and the hardships that demanded that. To wish for easier circumstances is to reject the very process that creates greatness. It's like asking a blacksmith to make a sharp blade without fire, hammer, or pressure. It's impossible. The strength of the steel comes from the heat of the fire and the pounding of the hammer. In the same way, your strength comes from the tests you endure and the challenges you overcome. Aiko, every day you have a choice. You can complain about the weight on your shoulders, or you can train yourself to carry it with more confidence. You can sit down wishing the path was flat, or you can build the legs to climb the mountain. One approach makes you weaker because it feeds on dependency. The other makes you stronger because it builds self-reliance. If life gave you everything easily, you would never learn discipline. If life never tested you, you would never discover how far you could go. Strength doesn't grow in comfort. It grows when you are stretched, when you are challenged, when you are pushed beyond what you thought possible. That's why the best mindset is not to hope for lighter loads, but to pray for stronger backs. Oh? Think about an athlete. The athlete does not ask the weights in the gym to become lighter. He doesn't say, if only this barbell would shrink by half, then I'd be in shape. No, the athlete embraces the challenge because it is the very resistance of the weight that builds the strength. He adds more weight over time, not less, because he understands that the growth comes from pressure. Life works the same way. Every difficulty you face is like a new set of weights added to the bar. Instead of running from it, see it as an opportunity to get stronger, to lift more than you could yesterday, to stretch your capacity beyond what it was last year. The secret to strength lies in embracing reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. Because when you stop asking for life to shrink and instead demand that everything changes. Problems no longer look like punishments. They look like teachers. Resistance no longer feels like an enemy. It feels like training. The storm no longer appears as a curse, but as the wind that forces your roots to grow deeper. And the deeper your roots go, the stronger you stand. No matter how fierce the wind becomes, challenges are the training ground for personal growth. Life does not hand out strength, wisdom, or resilience like free gifts. It demands that we earn them through the very struggles we often wish to avoid. Every challenge you encounter is an opportunity disguised as difficulty. It may not feel like a gift when you are in the middle of it, but once you pass through it, you look back and realize it was shaping you into someone far more capable than before. The reason challenges are so essential is because growth cannot happen without friction. Just as the body only grows stronger when muscles are stretched and torn through exercise, the mind and spirit only grow when they are tested by difficulty. Without resistance, you remain stagnant, and stagnation is the slow death of potential. You know? When life presents you with challenges, it is really asking you a question. Are you ready to grow? Many people say they want success, discipline, and strength, but when the test comes, they try to escape it. They hope to sidestep the hardship and still collect the reward. But life doesn't work that way. The reward is hidden inside the challenge. The lesson is buried within the struggle. If you want the prize, you have to face the process. You cannot skip the training ground and still expect to be prepared for the battle. Challenges serve as that training ground, sharpening your skills, strengthening your character, and teaching you what no book or classroom ever could. Think about how the greatest leaders, thinkers, and achievers of history developed their strength. None of them had it easy. In fact, the stories that inspire us most are rarely the ones of comfort and convenience. They are stories of men and women who were tested, sometimes broken, yet refused to stay down. They took the blows, learned the lessons, and emerged stronger than before. Their greatness was not born in the spotlight, but in the shadows of difficulty, in the hidden places where challenges forced them to dig deep, to endure, to believe, and to keep going when everything in them wanted to quit. That's why you cannot run from challenges. They are the very ground on which your strength is built. Imagine a seed planted in the soil. If the seed could talk, it might complain about the darkness, the pressure, the weight of the earth above it. But without that environment, without that resistance, it could never break open, grow roots, and rise toward the light. The challenge of the soil is the training ground for the life of the plant. In the same way, the challenges you face today may feel dark, heavy, and overwhelming, but they are the conditions required for you to grow into the person you were meant to become. Without them, your potential would remain dormant, locked away inside you, never to be realized. What makes challenges powerful is not just what they do to you in the moment, but what they make you become in the long run. Each test adds to your capacity. Each obstacle strengthens your endurance, and each failure teaches you lessons that comfort could never provide. The challenge doesn't just prepare you for today, it equips you for tomorrow. It ensures that when bigger tests come, and they always do, you will be ready. Growth is never accidental, it is intentional, and challenges are life's way of making sure you do not remain the same person you were yesterday. They are reminders that there is more strength in you, more wisdom in you, and more resilience in you than you currently know. The oak tree grows stronger roots in the storm. Nature has a way of teaching us truths that apply directly to life. If we are willing to pay attention, when the winds blow fiercely, the oak does not collapse, nor does it demand that the storm stop. Instead, something unseen happens beneath the surface. The roots dig deeper into the soil, anchoring the tree with more stability than before. The storm, instead of destroying the oak, becomes the very reason it grows stronger. Life works the same way for us. The storms we encounter, whether they come in the form of setbacks, disappointments, losses, or unexpected trials, force us to grow deeper roots of resilience, courage, and inner strength that would never form in times of calm. Most people wish for a life without storms, but a life without storms is a life without growth. If the oak tree only ever faced sunshine and gentle breezes, its roots would remain shallow. A shallow root system looks fine until the first strong wind arrives, and then the tree topples because it lacks depth. In the same way, if you only face easy days, smooth roads, and light burdens, you may appear strong, but your strength is untested, and untested strength is fragile. It is the difficulty of the storm that drives you deeper, that makes you search for a stronger foundation. that forces you to hold on tighter to your principles, your faith, and your determination. Right. The storm is not just an obstacle. It is a builder. It does not come to destroy your life, though it may feel like it in the moment. It comes to test your foundations, to expose the weak spots, and to demand that you grow stronger. Every person who has accomplished something significant has weathered storms that threatened to knock them down. Yet those storms did not defeat them. They defined them. The struggle became the reason for their depth, and the depth became the reason for their endurance. Just as the oak tree's majesty is not only in its height, but in the unseen depth of its roots, your greatness will not only be measured by what is visible on the outside, but by the unseen resilience you develop on the inside. Think about the storms you have already survived in your life. At the time, they may have felt unbearable. You may have thought you could never endure them. Yet here you are, standing stronger than you once were, possessing lessons and insights you would not trade for anything. That is the evidence of your roots growing deeper. The more storms you endure, the more anchored you become. The winds no longer scare you as they once did, because you have proven to yourself that you can withstand them. The storm that once seemed like the end became the training ground for a new beginning. The oak tree is also a symbol of patience. Roots do not grow overnight, and neither does inner strength. Every storm adds another layer of resilience, and over time, those layers build a foundation so strong that nothing can easily uproot it. Life may bend you, it may shake you, but if your roots are deep, you will not break. That is why storms, as difficult as they are, serve a hidden purpose. They separate the shallow from the strong, the fragile from the enduring, and the temporary from the permanent. What the storm does for the oak tree, life's challenges do for you. They drive your roots deeper so that you can rise higher. Your attitude during the test determines the outcome. Two people can face the same storm, yet one collapses while the other grows stronger. The difference is not always in the size of the storm, but in the perspective carried through it. An attitude is the lens through which you see your challenges, and that lens will either magnify your problems or magnify your possibilities. When difficulties come, your response shapes the result. If you face it with fear, doubt, and self-pity, the challenge will crush you. But if you approach it with courage, discipline, and determination, the same challenge can become the stepping stone to your next level. A attitude is a choice, and it is one of the few things completely within your control. You cannot control the weather, the economy, or how others treat you, but you can control how you respond. This is why two people with the same background, the same resources, and the same obstacles can end up with entirely different futures. One allows negative thoughts to dominate, repeating phrases like, "Why me?" or "This is impossible." The other says, "Why not me? Let me learn from this. Let me fight through this." The storm doesn't change, but the outcome does, because the attitude creates either limitation or opportunity, right? Think about how many people fail, not because of the size of the test, but because of the size of their negativity. A small setback becomes a mountain in their mind, and before long, they convince themselves it cannot be overcome. On the other hand, someone with a positive, disciplined mindset can face a mountain-sized problem and still find a way to climb it. The mind interprets the challenge and tells the body what to do. If your mind believes you cannot, then your actions will prove you right. But if your mind believes you must, your actions will stretch to meet that belief. Attitude also shapes the lessons you take from the test. Some people come out of difficulty bitter, blaming the world, convinced that life is unfair. Others come out better, thankful for the growth, armed with new wisdom, and ready for the next challenge. What makes the difference is not the difficulty itself, but the perspective carried through it. Your test can either make you resentful or it can make you resourceful. That is why protecting your attitude is just as important as protecting your health. A strong mind with a strong attitude can turn almost any circumstance into a stepping stone. Consider the story of an entrepreneur who fails in business. One sees the failure as proof that they are not cut out for success and gives up. The other sees the failure as a lesson, studies the mistakes, adjusts, and tries again with more wisdom. Eventually, the second entrepreneur succeeds, not because they avoided failure, but because they carried the right attitude through it. The test revealed their mindset, and their mindset determined their outcome. The same applies to every area of life: relationships, careers, health, and personal growth. The test is not just about what happens to you, it's about what happens in you. Your attitude also affects the people around you. When you face a test with strength and confidence, you give others permission to do the same. Just as fear is contagious, so is courage. A disciplined, positive attitude in the middle of difficulty can inspire your family, your team, your friends, and even strangers to face their own storms with greater resilience. You may not even realize the influence you carry, but others are watching how you handle pressure. By keeping your attitude strong, you not only shape your own outcome, but also contribute to the strength of those around you. Resistance builds strength. Without challenge, there is no growth. Every form of progress requires some kind of resistance to push against, just as muscles only grow when they meet the weight of resistance in the gym. The human spirit only develops when it faces the weight of adversity in life. If you remove resistance, you remove the very process that allows strength to form. So, this is why people who try to avoid every difficulty often remain weak, fragile, and unprepared for the realities of life. Growth does not happen in ease, it happens in struggle. Ease maintains, struggle builds, comfort preserves, resistance transforms. Without resistance, you might survive, but you will never thrive, right? Look at nature, and you'll see the same law at work. A butterfly must struggle to push itself out of the cocoon. If someone tries to help it by cutting the cocoon open, the butterfly emerges weak and unable to fly, because the very act of struggling against the cocoon is what strengthens its wings. Resistance is not there to punish the butterfly. It is there to prepare it. The same is true in your life. The resistance you face is preparing your wings so that when it is time to fly, you have the strength to soar. Without the challenge, you remain grounded, unable to rise to your true potential. The problem is that many people misinterpret resistance as a sign that they are on the wrong path. They think, if it's hard, it must not be meant for me. But the truth is often the opposite. If it is hard, it means there is growth waiting on the other side. If it challenges you, it is shaping you. The presence of resistance does not mean you should quit. It means you are in training. Resistance is life's way of asking, how badly do you want it? Only those who push through discover the rewards hidden behind the struggle. Think of the athlete who builds stamina by running uphill, or the student who develops wisdom by wrestling with complex problems, or the entrepreneur who sharpens their skills by enduring failures before success arrives. In every case, the resistance is the very ingredient that makes progress possible. Remove the hill, and the runner never builds endurance. Remove the hard problems, and the student never develops critical thinking. Remove the failures, and the entrepreneur never learns how to succeed. Resistance is not the enemy. It is the teacher, the trainer, the silent partner that develops within you the qualities necessary to win. right? Resistance also serves another purpose. It reveals your limits so that you can expand them. When you first push against a challenge, it may feel impossible. The weight feels too heavy, the mountain too tall, the setback too severe. But with each effort, you find yourself able to endure more than before. What once seemed overwhelming becomes manageable, and what once seemed impossible becomes achievable. The very act of meeting resistance stretches your capacity, and little by little, your limits expand. Over time, you look back and realize that what used to break you no longer even shakes you. That is the evidence of growth born out of resistance. Every great accomplishment in history is a testimony to the power of resistance. Inventors, leaders, and pioneers all faced obstacles that seemed insurmountable. But instead of running from them, they leaned into them. They understood that resistance was part of the process, not a barrier to it. The resistance refined their vision, clarified their values, and built their resilience. Without the resistance, they would not have had the strength to carry the weight of their success. And the same principle applies to you. The struggles you face today are not simply problems to endure. They are the very resistance required to shape you into the person capable of carrying tomorrow's opportunities. Discipline is the weapon that carries you through trials. When life places heavy burdens on your shoulders, it is not motivation that keeps you moving forward. It is discipline. Motivation is often fleeting. It rises and falls with emotion, but discipline is steady, constant, and reliable. Discipline is the habit of doing what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel in the moment. It is the structure that allows you to stay on course when storms threaten to throw you off track. Without discipline, even the strongest desire eventually fades into inaction. With discipline, even the smallest step taken consistently builds into strength and progress. Right? When trials come, they often strip away comfort, energy, and sometimes even hope. It is in those moments that discipline becomes your greatest ally. Discipline says, I will get up even when I feel like staying down. I will continue to push forward even when the results are not visible. I will remain faithful to the process even when the reward seems far away. This quiet determination is what separates those who endure from those who quit. Discipline does not argue with difficulty. It does not negotiate with excuses. It simply acts. It is the force that keeps you moving when everything around you suggests stopping, Think about the soldier in training. The reason they practice under extreme conditions is to develop discipline in the heat of battle. There is no time to decide whether or not to act. The habits forged in training carry them through. Life works the same way. When you practice discipline in the small things, your daily habits, your routines, your commitments, you build a reservoir of strength that will sustain you when larger trials arrive. If you cannot discipline yourself in the ordinary, you will be unprepared for the extraordinary challenges that demand it. Discipline is the quiet rehearsal for the storms you cannot yet see. Trials are designed to test not only your strength, but your consistency. Anyone can take action once, but few can keep taking action. When fatigue sets in, when failure repeats itself, when results take longer than expected. That is why discipline is so powerful. It teaches you to keep going long after the initial excitement wears off. It teaches you to control your emotions instead of being controlled by them. It transforms persistence from an occasional effort into a lifestyle. And in the process, it makes you unshakable. A disciplined person may feel the same fear, doubt, and frustration as anyone else, but they do not surrender to it. They keep their eyes on the goal and their actions aligned with their values. Discipline also creates clarity in the middle of chaos. When trials hit, confusion often follows. You may not know what tomorrow will bring, but discipline allows you to focus on what you can do today. It gives you structure when everything feels uncertain. Wake up, follow your plan, do the work, stay consistent. These simple acts of discipline build order out of disorder, progress out of stagnation, and hope out of despair. While others panic or freeze, the disciplined mind keeps moving steadily forward. Step by step, day by day, discipline builds the bridge that carries you over the trial and into victory. Every great achievement in history is a result of discipline meeting difficulty. Behind every success story is someone who chose consistency over comfort, persistence over procrastination, and responsibility over excuses. Discipline does not make trials disappear, but it makes you strong enough to outlast them. It sharpens your mind, strengthens your body, and fortifies your spirit. It is the weapon that ensures no test, no storm, no obstacle can keep you from pressing forward as long as you refuse to put it down. Pain is temporary, but quitting makes weakness permanent. Pain is one of the most powerful teachers life offers, yet many people misunderstand it. They see pain as a signal to stop, as proof that something has gone wrong, when in reality, pain is often the very proof that growth is happening. The soreness of the muscle after a workout, the exhaustion after long hours of effort, the sting of rejection after putting yourself forward. All of these are forms of pain, but none of them are permanent. They pass with time, and what remains after they fade is strength, experience, and resilience. But quitting, on the other hand, leaves a lasting scar. When you stop because of discomfort, you lock weakness into place. You deny yourself the reward that lies just on the other side of temporary pain. There is a simple truth that separates those who achieve from those who give up. Achievers endure pain, quitters surrender to it. Endurance is not about avoiding pain, but accepting it as part of the process. Think of an athlete running a marathon. At some point, pain becomes inevitable. The legs ache, the lungs burn, the body cries for relief. Yet the athlete who keeps going discovers a strength deeper than the pain. When the finish line is crossed, the pain fades, but the pride remains. On the other hand, the one who quits may feel relief in the moment, but that relief quickly turns into regret because they know they allowed weakness to decide their outcome. Pain passes, but quitting writes a permanent story. In life, every meaningful pursuit involves pain. Building a business, raising a family, developing a skill, overcoming hardship, each demands sacrifice, effort, and moments of discomfort. If you run from pain, you run from progress. If you quit when it hurts, you forfeit the growth that pain was about to deliver. The mind loves comfort, but comfort is a trap that keeps you small. Pain stretches you beyond your limits. And that stretch is where transformation happens. When you accept that pain is temporary, you no longer fear it. You learn to endure it, to use it, to let it shape you into someone stronger than the version of yourself that entered the trial, right? Quitting, however, does more than stop your progress. It weakens your character. Every time you quit in the face of difficulty, you teach yourself to surrender more easily. The next time, it becomes a habit, and that habit carves weakness into your identity. Soon you are not just someone who quit once, you are someone who quits often, someone who doubts their own capacity, someone who avoids challenge, because the memory of quitting lingers like a shadow. This is why quitting makes weakness permanent. It isn't just about the missed opportunity, it's about the damage it does to your belief in yourself. The pain of effort fades, but the memory of surrender remains long after. No, what makes pain powerful is that it is always temporary, no matter how intense it feels in the moment. Time heals, bodies recover, lessons are learned, and strength returns. The discomfort you feel today is gone tomorrow, but but the resilience it builds stays with you for life. That is why the most successful people are not those who avoided pain, but those who endured it, who pressed through it, who understood that beyond the trial was the transformation they desired. When you embrace pain as part of the journey, you rob it of its ability to control you. But when you let quitting take its place, you build a cage around yourself that keeps you from ever discovering what you could have become. Every test is an opportunity to rise, not a reason to fall. Life places trials in front of each of us, and how we interpret them shapes everything that follows. Some people see a challenge as a wall blocking their path, while others see it as a ladder to climb higher. The same circumstance that crushes one person can elevate another, not because the situation is different, but because the mindset is different. Every test carries with it a choice. You can see it as a defeat or as a doorway. So, when you begin to view your struggles as stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks, you unlock the ability to rise above them. The opportunities, these rarely come wrapped in ease and comfort. They often appear dressed in the disguise of difficulty, requiring effort, patience, and resilience to reveal their value. That is why those who shy away from tests rarely grow into their full potential. They avoid the very circumstances that were designed to stretch them into something greater. Every test, no matter how painful or inconvenient, carries within it a seed of advancement. Passing the test does not just move you forward in your goals. It transforms you into someone capable of handling more, achieving more, and leading more. The opportunity is not only in what you gain, but in who you become through the process. When you look back on your life, you will notice that the moments that shaped you most deeply were often the moments that tested you most severely. Success rarely teaches as much as struggle does. Ease does not reveal character, but tests do. They show you what you believe, how disciplined you are, how committed you remain. When circumstances are against you, tests strip away pretense and force you to confront yourself honestly. In those raw moments, you discover your true strength, and each time you rise, instead of falling, you reinforce a belief in yourself that no outside praise could ever provide. Imagine a student preparing for an exam. The exam is not given to punish the student, but to measure knowledge and reveal where more growth is needed. Passing it allows the student to advance to the next level, but even the mistakes are opportunities to learn and improve. Life works in the same way. Every test you face is preparing you for a higher level of responsibility, wisdom, or strength. Without the test, you would remain stuck at your current level, never discovering what you are truly capable of. That is why the test itself is a gift. It is the mechanism life uses to elevate you. Rising through a test requires, if you focus only on the pain, the inconvenience, or the uncertainty, you will be tempted to quit. But if you look at the same trial as preparation, as training, as the path to the next version of yourself, the weight becomes bearable. You begin to welcome the process instead of resenting it. The shift in perspective changes everything, because what once felt like a reason to fall now becomes the reason you stand taller. Your test becomes your testimony. Your challenge becomes your credential. Your struggle becomes the evidence of your strength. Every person you admire has faced tests that could have defeated them. The difference is they chose to rise. They treated every setback as an invitation to grow, every difficulty as a doorway to a better future. They understood that the value of the test is not only in surviving it, but in allowing it to refine them. The same is true for you. Each test is an invitation, a call to rise higher than you were yesterday, to stand firmer, to act braver, to live wiser. And when you accept that invitation, life rewards you with growth that no comfort could ever provide. When life tests you, it is not trying to break you, it is trying to build you. Every storm, every challenge, every moment of resistance is a call for you to rise to a higher level of strength and character. Do not waste your energy wishing the trials away. Use them as the training ground for your greatness. Stand firm like the oak tree, rooted deep and unshakable. Guard your attitude, wield your discipline, endure the temporary pain, and choose to see every test as an opportunity to rise. The world does not reward those who quit. It rewards those who endure, who adapt, who grow stronger. In the fire of adversity, let your life be the proof that no matter how fierce the storm, the human spirit has the power to stand, to rise, and to overcome.